What's up, guys? We are on day 18, and the title for today is Emmanuel. We'll be looking at John chapter 2, verses 6 to 11, where it says, Now there were 6 stone water jars there for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, Fill the jars with water, and they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, Now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast. So they took it. When the master of the feast tasted the water now become wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the master of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, Everyone serves the good wine first, and when people have drunk freely, then the poor wine. But you have kept the good wine until now. This, the first of his signs, Jesus did at Cana in Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. There was a bona fide crisis underway, but back in Jesus' day, wine was a staple at most meals and a must at any respectable celebration. But at this wedding, the wine had run out, a humiliation of epic proportions for the groom's family who was hosting the party. Jesus' mother Mary took it upon herself to find Jesus and bring him up to speed. They have no wine, were her words. John chapter 2, verse 3. But her sense of urgency and meaning were clear. Help! No one in attendance except his mother had reason to believe Jesus could provide. He was as poor as anyone. He was seemingly normal. Up until that point, there was little to set him apart from the other partygoers, which makes his mother directed debit a precious backdrop to what followed. Jesus' newly recruited disciples watched as he instructed the servants to fill giant jars with water. What a confusing but intriguing directive. The servants did as they were told, which included taking a glass of water to their superior, the master of the feast, who apparently knew nothing of the looming drama. And then at some points between the drawing and the giving, the water turned into wine. Not just any wine, but awesome wine, the quality of which brought honor to the host, since common practice was to serve the cheap stuff as soon as guests were too drunk to notice. The party and reputation of his friends were saved, but of all the miracles Jesus could have performed first, he chose a wedding and wine and only a few witnesses. Why? Because he's Emmanuel, God with us, as it was mentioned in Matthew chapter 1, verse 23. The setting of his first miracle, the need in front of Jesus, potential embarrassment, and his obedience to his mother were constant with everything else in his life. He was ordinary. Jesus was born in a stable, raised by simple people, and worked as a carpenter like his dad. He attended school and synagogue, and now a party, because God's method of rescuing the world was entered into it. For the next 3 years, the disciples saw Jesus do extraordinary things in ordinary, everyday circumstances. They watched the Messiah be hungry, happy, tired, frustrated, angry, and in the Garden of Gethsemane, afraid. They saw him love on the poor and rich alike, often using the common to display his heavenly glory, like loaves and fish, mud, waves, trees, and tombs. They learned to minister to real people with real problems, to love without prejudice, to preach the gospel no matter the condition, to perform miracles, and to obey upon death. And through it all, the disciples followed in his steps because of their faith in the one who was with them, Emmanuel, God with us, who dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. From John chapter 1 verse 14. So the prayer for today is, thank God for Emmanuel and ask him for help in your pursuit to the extraordinary in your ordinary. Here are some reflection questions. At this moment, what circumstances are most difficult for you? At this moment, what circumstances are most difficult for you? How should knowing that God is with you affect the way you respond to your circumstances? How should knowing that God is with you affect the way you respond to your circumstances? Just as the servants at the wedding had to draw water before they actually saw the water turn into wine, what are ways you can step out in faith as a result of his promise to be with you? Just as the servants at the wedding had to draw water before they actually saw the water turning into wine, what are ways you can step out in faith as a result of his promise to be with you? And that will conclude our time for day 18, Emmanuel. Think of moments of how God stepped into your life, either during times where you expected him to step into, or times in which he was not, in times in which he did not step into the moment that you expected. For God works in mysterious ways. So go and walk with God.